Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, taking out one last update on the Goldeneye 007 360 static recompilation project. I talked about it when it came out, I talked about it when we had the mouse and keyboard updates, and now all of the community edition patches and fixes have been incorporated into the 360 static recomp as well. So you're going to get every bit as good of an experience, and even beyond that, with this static recomp than you ever would on Xenia. And honestly, that is amazing, because even if you put this thing on an Xbox, you still don't really have the patches in there. And honestly, having played a bunch of this just in my spare time with all of the different updates, I will now say de facto, this is my favorite way to play Project Bean as far as this is concerned. And honestly, that is absolutely spectacular, because getting a canceled game recompiled is 10 out of 10 fun. But honestly, it's not even the first example we have of it, because we also have Dinosaur Planet on the Nintendo 64 recompiled as well. So getting games that were canceled, never actually released, playable on PC like this, it's just absolutely fun in all of the weirdest and most charming ways. And when you get something like Goldeneye, you know you're going to be in for a fun time. Before we get too far involved though, to be a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to watch the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But if you missed the previous videos, I'll give you a little bit of a recap off the front, and I'll talk about all the improvements and fixes that you're going to find in this most recent build. Basically, Goldeneye 360 or Project Bean was a complete remake of the original N64 game, and Rare just basically made it without actually clearing the licenses with anyone. When it actually was really close to done, they found out they couldn't release the thing, so they quietly canceled it until somebody found a development kit some years ago with the build on it, and that's what we are playing here today. But it was an incomplete build, it had some issues, and now in the static recomp with the community edition fixes, it's going to be a way more stable, way more performant, just way more fun version of Project Bean, and that's definitely a win, because honestly, Goldeneye and the N64, one of the best first-person shooters of a console generation of all time, and Project Bean definitely would have been that for the Xbox 360 as well if it had actually come out. And now with all the improvements to the overall recomp, as well as to the mouse and keyboard controls and everything else included, this thing absolutely just excels at being Goldeneye 007 on the 360, and that's really what we want here. And I will say, just like the previous video, the mouse and keyboard controls absolutely are amazing here. The fluidity is smooth on the mouse input, and you have a complete analog adjustment as well, so depending on the mouse setup you're using, you can adjust it to do whatever you want. Now for me personally, the default analog values worked really well, but I am on a very large trackball because I am a film editor and filmmaker for a living, so honestly moving the ball just takes a very small amount of motion to actually get the cursor across the screen, so for me that totally worked. But if you're seeing that it is a little bit slow, you can hit the escape key and go into the menu and dial in whatever analog values you want so that you get more smooth panning and you get that aiming that you're looking for. And it really is impressive just how much has been done to this port since it first came out, and I'm absolutely blown away by how quickly it has progressed. So if you take a look here, version 1.2.4 is the most recent one, but 1.2.3 brought in all of the community edition updates, and trust me, it does make a difference, especially for online play. It's going to be better for syncing, so you're going to be able to play this thing with friends online and basically have no issues, because I've talked to a lot of different people that have been getting matches in online, and everything's been working as expected, and it is just fun. And that really is part of the great thing about this getting a static recomp as a PC executable, is it's just going to be easier to actually play online than going through Xenia. And now with the overall mouse and keyboard improvements here, again, it's not a knock against Xenia. I think it is an incredible emulator, and the community's done a great job making it great there. I just prefer to double click an executable and have it running on my PC as that static recomp. And yes, it is using RexGlue, as I explained before in previous videos, which means that the PowerPC code is being statically recompiled into something that modern processors can understand, where Xenia is underpinning the video and the audio as far as the runtimes are concerned, but it is still going to be smoother, and honestly it's going to need reduced system specs compared to what Xenia would want. So if you've been on the edge of running this game and it's been getting some slowdown, this might actually give you a better performance when you're actually playing the game, and that definitely matters in a first-person shooter, especially if you're online. You don't want to be dropping frames when you're trying to play the game. Let's do the first of two soundtrack samples so you can hear what Goldeneye 360 recomp sounds like. I'll be right back with more improvements, more information about this awesome recomp. I mean, so it just sounds exactly like GoldenEye to me, but you leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think. But with the community edition fixes in, again, you're just getting a better version of an already amazing, if unreleased game. And it is absolutely wild that this game got so far in development before it finally got canceled. And it is even more shocking that it was found and released for everyone to enjoy. That really is a great piece of video game preservation, because all emulation, all recomps, and all source ports are preservation in their own right. This one may be a little bit more than others just because it is for a game that never truly existed. And as I mentioned in previous videos, yes, there was some cloud involved in getting this static recompilation working and improved. So that's not for you, that's totally fine. I let you guys decide on what it is you want to play around with and what you don't. But as far as the result of that work, this is definitely impressive, and it definitely is doing everything you need to have fun with GoldenEye, especially on the online component. And I think maybe next weekend, maybe I'll carve some time out and I'll go on Discord and tell people that I'm going to be playing this online, so maybe you can grab a match with me as well. So if you want to do that, leave me a comment down below and tell me if that'd be interesting to you, because a lot of times I get people asking what games I play online, and the reality is on weekends I barely have time to play any games because my wife and I just purchased a house. There's been a lot of home projects, but maybe I can carve out an hour and a half or two just to play some GoldenEye with you guys on the static recomp. And if you have been playing around with it, leave me your thoughts down below as well, because I would be curious. And if you have AMD hardware, you're basically going to be perfectly fine to run this game now, because all of the AMD fixes are in, which means you're also going to get Steam Deck support. And I haven't popped it on my Steam Deck just because I haven't had time. I've talked to some people from my Discord. They've said they've had a great experience playing around with it. And of course, because you have the trackpad, you're able to set mouse control to the trackpad, so you can basically have that full free aiming without actually having to attach a mouse to your Steam Deck. But honestly, in a dock, you could totally get away with that as well. And there's even music in the pause menu now, but it doesn't seem to be the right music unless I'm missing something. I assumed it would be the pause theme, but it basically just keeps playing the music from the area that you're in, but it doesn't get rid of the music after you exit the menu, which is something that the standard dump of Project Bean definitely had issues with. But again, this is really fun just because it is a great experience to be able to play a game that never came out, and with all of the updates, it really is just that smooth first-person shooter that you want. And because it is kind of that aesthetic of the 90s first-person shooter, it has a completely different feel and almost feels like a boomer shooter at this point in time. No, it doesn't have all of the qualifications to hit that boomer shooter status, at least in my opinion, but it really is nostalgic with a fresh coat of paint, or about as fresh of a coat of paint as the Xbox 360 provided, because it is wild to think we are 2 generations beyond that console at this point in time. I swear it just feels like it came out maybe 7-8 years ago. But one more soundtrack sample so you can get a good idea of how the audio quality is, and I'll come back and tell you a little bit more and talk about how you can unlock all the levels if you don't want to go through the main campaign. But enjoy! So yeah, if we just go down the checklist and talk about this static recomp, as far as the video is concerned, the frame rate is smooth on my system. It looks exactly as it should. Everything seems to be doing perfectly fine. It doesn't really like to go over 60 frames per second. That's just because there is a logic lock, I believe, to the actual gameplay, but it is a smooth experience. On the audio side of things, nothing really in the audio playback or sound effects that really bothers me whatsoever. It just seems to be GoldenEye on the 360. And as far as the controls are concerned, mouse and keyboard work perfectly for what it is I'm trying to do. And I have played through the entire campaign start to finish, including all of the bonus levels. I never once crashed the game. I never once had an issue. I just basically stopped thinking about the fact that it was a static recomp and just started thinking that I was playing GoldenEye on my PC because it was released like that back in the day, even if it wasn't. And if you don't want to go through the entire campaign to unlock everything, you can hit escape and go into the menus and enable the debug mode, and then from there you can go through and enable all of the cheats in the game, unlock all of the levels, all of the different characters for multiplayer, and basically anything else you want to play around with. So if you just want to check this out, you don't feel like dedicating the hours to make sure every level's unlocked, you can unlock them all in about maybe 10 seconds or so with the debug menu, which is nice not only for testing and gameplay capture, but just if you kind of want to check it out and just have a little bit of fun with that. So I don't think there really is anything else to say about the GoldenEye 007 Xbox 360 static recomp. It is working start to finish, it's smooth, it's fun, and if it's for you, have a good time with it. Short of that, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, but I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.